So for my multimedia project number 3, I'm going to be talking about Katy Perry's performance at halftime of Super Bowl 49. I'm not only going to look at the performance, but I'm also going to look at her success leading up to and after the show, but also some other tangents that may have come from the show itself. Prior to her Super Bowl performance, Katy Perry released her album Prism in 2013, and it had a few chart-topping songs on it. Her two songs, Roar and Dark Horse featuring Juicy J, both saw some time at the top spot on the Billboard 100 chart, but other songs such as Unconditionally, Birthday, and This Is How We Do all reached into the top 25 of the Billboard chart. The album as a whole sold 1.7 million copies and led her to go on tour and have many live performances. As you can imagine, when the 2014-15 NFL season came around, Katy Perry was pretty popular coming off that album, so it was almost a shoo-in for the NFL to ask her to perform at halftime of the biggest game of the year. People tend to either like the same music as everyone else or like their own completely different music, which was kind of talked about by Keith Negus in the Popular Music Theory book. So it only made sense that people would want to see Katy Perry at halftime and that people loved her album. Because once a bunch of people started liking it, a bunch more people started liking it, and it kind of spiraled from there. And yeah, like I said, that also makes sense to why the NFL would pick her, because they want to make the event as popular as possible. And as you're going to see later, they were pretty successful in doing that. After Katy performed at halftime of the show, she was not releasing much music, and she wasn't really as successful as she was, but she was pretty big in like other aspects. She only released one album, Witness, in 2017, and it wasn't as commercially successful as her previous albums. But this might not be seen as like Katy Perry's downfall and she's not as good as she once was. But it's more seen as like the society was changing and pop music wasn't as popular as it was before when she was peaking. Um, looking when looking at the songs at the top 100 that were like claimed as the top 100 of 2017, of the 100 of them, because that's when Witness was released, there were not many pop songs in the top 10. It was more rap music and stuff like that. And once people kind of got a taste of the new wave of rappers like Drake, Migos, Kendrick Lamar, and many people like that, it was almost all but over for pop music. Rap and hip hop were becoming more prominent, but Katy Perry found a new calling. She turned to the big screen, and she appeared in the movie The Zoolander 2, and she's regularly seen on American Idol as one of the new judges since they've started to try and revive that show. Now, going back to the actual halftime performance itself, it was a major success. The game itself had 114.4 million people tune in, which turned out to be a new record for any Super Bowl ever. But Katy Perry's halftime performance alone saw 118.5 million people watch it. And so that means that more people watched her performance itself rather than the game. So that extra 4 million people tuned in just for halftime and watched that rather than watching like the whole game. And that's something that can be seen also as how successful she was at the time, because everybody was big about Katy Perry when that performance came around. There were many things that people loved about the show, but they could be seen as her coming out on the giant lion, or her flying around on the star, or the fact that she brought out Lenny Kravitz and Missy Elliott. But the one thing that people really took away from the show for some reason was this whole left shark. And people kind of fell in love with it, and it might be because at one point it seemed as he was improvising the whole dance because he didn't really know what he was doing, or I don't know, but people just fell in love with this shark. And it turned into this huge thing, and people made a Twitter page for it. People were making kids' costumes. It was all over social media, and it was just everywhere. And I think that might be, like, besides the actual performance itself, I think this whole left shark thing could also be attributed to how successful Katy Perry really was, because, I mean, if you put some plain Jane artist out there, you're not really going to see, like, they're not going to want to pay attention to the little things like that, to where, since Katy Perry was out there, it's just like it blows up.